for October 16th, 2025, and the time is 5:04 this evening. Thank you all for joining. I have all supervisors present with the exception of Supervisor Wish being excused for this evening. Youth and Governance. Vinny, would you like to borrow Supervisor Rossi's mic, please? And, oh, you're going to give him, Ernie's already got it. He's already got it, Bob. Okay. Thank you, Ernie. And read the Youth and Governance statement.
All right. Hello. We are members of Racine County's Youth and Governance Program, and we will be participating in tonight's meeting. This program serves to empower the youth in Racine County by encouraging us to participate in local government. We have agreed to abide by the applicable standards of conduct that would govern any elected county board member. While we are encouraged to participate and are allowed to have a non-binding advisory vote on matters before the committee, all formal action taken by the committee will be based solely on the binding votes made by the county board supervisors. Thank you.
Thank you, Vinny Renteria. And Vinny is a starting volleyball player at his high school. So way to keep going, man. Keep it up. Thank you.
And a good student.
And a good student, most important. Chairman comments, very quick. 3 more minutes. The game starts. For all of you that are followed the Brewers all season, I have. So when somebody wants to call out who's going, Supervisor Horth.
I'm sorry, if I could just recommend that we not share what the status is of the game because we're probably all taping it or trying to follow it. So I just would.
I will not have it.
You know, spoiler alert is the term. Okay, so I'll plug my ears.
Okay, I won't make any announcements then, and nobody make any announcements. So go Brewers, and we'll leave it at that. Okay. Thank you, Supervisor Horth. Next up, we have the approval of the minutes from October 15th, 2024.
Move for approval.
I have a first and a second from Supervisor Nielsen. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor? Any opposed? Hearing none. The minutes from October 15th, 2025 are approved. There is a typo. Again, in the original agenda that was sent out, it should read 2025. So just for the record. And Youth and Governance, all in favor? Thank you. Okay, we're going to move along, and the committee will review the following budgets. I am gonna ask permission of the FHR committee if we can move the county clerk up. It would appear the county clerk's presentation could be much shorter than Human Services, Public Health, Veterans, blah, 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 blah. So I'm going to ask if the county clerk can come up and present their budget for 2026. And I'd like to introduce Wendy Christensen. Good evening, Wendy.
It's a little different standing on this side of the room. I was told to keep it short and hit the highlights was the suggested course of action for tonight. We have no staff changes and we are not planning on implementing any additional new programs. A couple highlights.
Page 33, excuse me.
Sorry.
Nope, my fault.
Our fees, we are proposing to raise the passport photo fee from $17 to $18. That is comparable to other places you can purchase a photo. We did a little bit of a survey, and that includes the cost of both the state and the county sales tax. So it's all inclusive. We're not dealing with pennies and cents. It's just an even dollar. We are proposing to bring all of the marriage license applications in-house. We currently pay a small fee to the city of Burlington as sort of a satellite office, but they are doing less licenses than they have in the past. And we have appropriate staff that we could bring those in-house and use those dollars for county needs instead of paying that out. And then the highlight, the bigger change in the budget is next year, there are 4 regularly scheduled elections, including the gubernatorial, which in 2025, we only had 2 elections. So I guess with that, that's sort of the main points in my area. If anyone has questions.
Questions for the clerk? From the committee, any?
Yeah.
Supervisor Spencer.
So why did the
What page, Supervisor?
39,
Thank you.
sorry,
Okay.
just looking at the election that you just mentioned and it went down.
Well, in 2024, we had a couple of extra elections. In 2025, we only had 2 regularly scheduled, the spring elections, and in 2026, we will have 4.
So won't that be more expense?
If I said it the other way, I apologize. It will be more expensive next year.
Thank you. Thanks for the correction. Questions from the committee? Any other questions from the committee? Thank you so much.
Obviously, you all know how to reach me if you have anything else.
Okay, next
Mr.
up.
Chairman,
Yes,
just-
sir.
Just to follow up from the clerk's remark, the reason she said that is because she is with us at every meeting. So for the people of the public wondering what that meant, county clerk is at every county board meeting.
And has been for a while. Okay, human services, which includes HHS, public health, veterans, the medical examiner, UW extension, and administrative services. I see in front of me is the director, Hope Otto, and the team. So Hope, it's you and your team.
Hey,
Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and the Finance Committee. As you said, I'm Hope Otto. I'm the Director of Human Services, and I'm here with my team. I'd like them to introduce themselves, and it may help if you reference this handout that we have, this big org chart that includes on the backside with the more orange colors, the organizational flow and administrative responsibilities. And on the other side is the list of mandated and non-mandated services that fall underneath their scope. So as they introduce themselves, you can reference this chart to understand their realm of responsibility. And we'll start with Steve.
Yeah, Steve Bedwell, Youth and Family Services.
Mr. Chairman, because we're broadcasting, they need to use the mic.
Sure.
Steve Bedwell, Youth and Family Services Division.
Alberta Medina, Fiscal Manager.
Elvina Jones, Administrator of Aging and Disability Services.
Kristen Ladis, Workforce and Supportive Services.
Amberlyn Yan, Administrator of Youth Rehabilitative Services.
Jeff Langley, Public Health, and oversee the medical examiner.
Thank you.
Okay. It's back in there. All right, so as the largest department in the county, I fully recognize and welcome the focus and questions regarding our spending, recommendations from the department, and overall direction. For over a decade, I have led Human Services with a fiscally responsible approach, grounded in innovation, boldness, and creativity. This marks my 11th budget, and throughout this time, I have consistently received support from the Health and Human Development Committee and Board, along with the recognition of my efforts and my team's efforts, both statewide and locally. And I want to give a special thanks to the Health and Human Services Committee, Chairman Miller, for the kind remarks he made during my budget overview just a couple weeks ago, and the support from my Vice Chair, Scott Meyer, as well. I firmly believe that this leadership is not about diminishing others, but about strengthening what we build together. I don't compare my work with the cabinet colleagues or my fellow human services directors statewide, but I do believe it's my responsibility to uphold the reputation of the department and ensure that the work is adequately understood. This means correcting any misperceptions, particularly the idea that my department is bloated or has uncontrolled spending. While I don't focus on the imperfections of the Green Book data, I think it can be useful for this group to place our levy investment in context. So please consider the following comparisons. Kenosha County has 18.6 million levy for human services, serving 160 residents with 11% in poverty. Brown County, 26 million in levy for human services, serving 270,000 residents, 9% in poverty. Racine County, 8.8 million in levy, serving 200,000 residents and 12% in poverty. And that's excluding the 1 million that I'm suggesting in reserves that we build annually through conservative budgeting. I'd like to draw attention to the handout because obviously when you look through the book, there's a lot of different information and lines within there. So I tried to do a summary of information on the budget highlights here, particularly surrounding some of the things that I've talked to both my committee and the full board about, which is the reasons for budgetary stress in our area. The first is declining state aid. And so our team went through and added up all of the changes in allocations from the state and federal government from 2025 to 2026. And it is 1.5 million in reduced state funding that we received there. One of the other things that you'll see, and we've talked about, is how the levy was deflated over time through the loss of emergency funding, or ARPA. So over the past 4 years, 6.6 million was authorized to human services as an expense to basically support the core social services that were intended for ARPA, for safety net and savings applied to those areas where it helped to serve other areas of the county. And rising costs of contracted services. So not only do we get money from the state, we also have to place within state systems that increase their rates for us. So we talk about our mental health institutional placements and corrections, and we're constantly trying to find prevention and diversion ways to help with those diversion from costly placements. Here I highlight the cost of the day of how much it costs to be at, for example, Winnebago State Mental Health Institution at $2,166 per day. We calculated the operating expense of our sale diversion program to keep options local and at home, and that equates to about $411 a day. And if we were to serve those individuals in the inpatient setting, it would be about $5 million. Same thing with state corrections, and the build of the Jonathan Dalgrave Youth Development and Care Center was an attempt to do two things: to serve our youth locally and also help to avoid these out of control, out of cost placements in state correctional facilities. Our cost that we're averaging is around $1,200 a day, but obviously we generate out of county revenue as well to manage those expenses. And so since 2024, when we were operating the detention center, because of the increased revenue that we're able to generate, and additional support from the state too through a youth aids allocation, we are spending $2.6 million less on levy to operate that operation. Additionally, just the cost of doing business has obviously risen. So our merit and COLA increases, because of the size of our department with nearly 400 employees, it's about $500,000 every year, just with doing nothing different. And then you take into account general inflationary pressures as well. So the response that we had to this, there's both an initial and ongoing response. The first was to be able to look internally and see if the services that we do could be done more efficiently. And the Wellness Connect initiative that I've talked about again and a couple times with this group helps with shifting costs that were in the youth and family division to the behavioral health area, where we're able to bill for services. And we are able to draw down significant revenue, saving our system about $450,000. Initially in the budget, I cut 3.5 FTE positions and 3 contracted positions, which totaled about $400,000. And due to budget constraints and ongoing conversations that I know that this county board and the county executive collectively have to make, I'm also recommending an additional $434,000 through an administrative amendment to cut an additional 4 county FTEs. With that, we would be able to replenish about $2.28 million into the human services operational budget. But I would offer there would be an option as well as reducing the amount of reserves that we're using through these cuts to total about $200,000 of use of levy, the use of reserves in lieu of the full 1 million. And I just want to mention the ongoing out-of-home placement, diversion, prevention, family preservation efforts is another way that we continue to help with reducing costly out-of-placement expenses. I think with that, I will just mention one other document that we have here and then turn it over for questions. I know that there was a lot of concern and questions about the net position ads for the substance abuse residential facility. And I apologize if there was any confusion regarding how these positions were going to be established and the purpose of them. This big one? Nope. Oh, you didn't get one? I'm so sorry. I'm sure we do. This one.
No extra.
I don't know. Okay. So I will give a very high-level overview of this and yet Yelena talk in more detail. And this is probably way more information than you might want, but just to understand about what the staffing will look like in the facility and how we expect to be able to receive a net neutral position count for that. The initial build was to be able to relocate our existing staff that are on Dominic Drive over to the 1720 Taylor Avenue. The other side, the substance abuse residential treatment facility, is in response to the opioid epidemic. The state had put out several grants to us to be able to support both the construction and operation of this, which we have included the opioid dollars, and the former county executive wanted to also utilize ARPA dollars for this, in addition to the borrow. But that facility and that side has a revenue equal expenses operation. So that's the new addition. But if there was any confusion regarding my explanation that there was no net ads, I apologize. That is the other end of the mental health building. So I will pause there and see if there's any questions.
Okay, I'm going to open it up for questions from the committee first.
And there is an updated handout as well for the budget book.
Yep. Hopefully everybody has one. Okay, and I'm going to open it up for questions from the board. Supervisor Rossi?
Thank you, Chairman. You've already commented on one of the questions I'm going to ask, which was the additional FTEs. There was a series of emails that I sent out earlier in the year where I asked that specific question. I actually had conversations with you, Chairman, about this exact topic, which prompted the follow-up emails that I'm referencing now. I'm surprised that this would be an unknown item for the facility. And I just am a little bit concerned about, if this is unknown now. I would think that if there's a legal aspect to an operation, that would have been planned. So it just brings forward more concerns then about additional future staffing needs. And it just is this, now I'm speaking to the board, new facilities usually mean new positions. This was billed to me as new facility, people from position of building A go to building B. So I'm just concerned about that. I have more questions, more so for the JDYCC side of things, but sure. I appreciate greatly your efforts to reduce FTEs. I'm hoping we can look at a little more, and that's all I'm going to say for now. Okay. Thank you.
If you would like
me
to respond, it was not a surprise. The apologies and the lack of clarification, not that I didn't know that we were doing this. And if we look back at previous emails, there is language about the substance abuse residential arm of that. I just didn't explain how the staffing worked with it. But we always knew we were building that since the inception.
Supervisor Hort?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. 3 board meetings ago, I had raised the question to the entire group about the importance of potentially getting some comparisons with regards to other counties, municipalities in general. And 2 meetings ago, I was pleased to see that the speaker, and I apologize, I don't recall his name, I believe it was a pastor, had come up and he said that he had put together a sheet that actually gave a breakdown of what the per capita performance was between Racine, Kenosha, Walworth, and Waukesha. And he was specifically speaking about HHS. And he said that Racine is $161 per capita in its total cost of the budgeted information. Kenosha is at 484. Walworth is at 332. And Waukesha was at 234. And so I guess my question is, I don't guess, I know what my question is that when you look at these numbers, this says that we are so under per capita, which isn't always a perfectly clean scenario. I understand that. But we are so much under what these other counties are doing. And that begs the question, is this an expense issue or does it start to become a revenue issue at some point? Because I'm only looking at numbers, by the way, and I can't validate or verify this. That gentleman was kind enough to respond to my question. And I needed to acknowledge it just simply because of that per capita performance. What are your thoughts on, again, why we're seeing that ours is that, I mean, it's not even close. Waukesha, 234, we're at 161. I mean, Kenosha is 484 and Walworth is 332. Help me.
So in terms of Waukesha, and the reason I mentioned poverty index is that's very important in terms of dependency on social service programs because the vast majority of people we're serving are in poverty. And so the fact that theirs is a little lower actually does make sense despite their larger size of their county. I think that we have done an amazing job through our efficiencies over the years. I couldn't be prouder of Human Services literally decades of people that I personally know have worked in these roles that have done a phenomenal job being innovative, creative, and looking at things in a different lens. There just becomes a point where I believe the county executive said, that many supervisors have said, you can't keep doing more with less. You just can't. And I think we're at that point. I'm not asking for any more. I just believe that we need to sustain where we're at. And in time, we're going to continue to be extremely creative and look for additional funding sources, other revenue opportunities as we have since my 10 years of being in this role. But it is a longstanding history of innovative cost-cutting practices and bringing services in-house instead of purchasing them. I like to say instead of the easy button, we did the hard work of creating the solutions locally. We were the only county that raised our hand for the Jonathan Delgrave Youth Development and Care Center. And there's a reason for that. It's a lot of work. There's a lot of scrutiny. It was a really tough process for an entire team that was working on that for 5 years. It started in 2017. But we're going to save money and even generate money off it and be able to serve youth in our community. So it's those type of things, I think, that have allowed us to do what we've done for so long.
Mr. Chairman, I would just offer that I think this adds an opportunity for us in the future too, to look at these comparables. Again, as I had mentioned a couple of weeks ago, when we're doing this planning process and preparing, because unfortunately, I'm the first to admit, I'm not the expert in HHS. I don't have a sense of really what everybody's doing other than my assumptions. So when I see something that's tangible, quantifiable, okay, now I get to understand it a little better. And I'm only speaking for myself. I won't speak for anybody else. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
So noted, Supervisor Horth. The chairman of the HHS committee sits to my left here. So we will team up on that together. Thank you. Supervisor Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to repeat what I did speak of in past meetings. And I'll say it's 3 P's: prevention, prevention, prevention. This handout mentions state mental health institutions. One person at Mendota is $790,000 a year. One person. With the SAIL program, we have prevented that expenditure for years. And
since 2012.
Yeah, so I just wanted to repeat that because I know there'll be a lot of people online tonight and subsequently watching, but prevention pays off.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Questions? Supervisor Caprillion.
Thank you. So I think I need this clearly and maybe, yeah, just to kind of get to it, because, we're looking at the levy impacts. And so when I'm looking on page 307, it shows that we're using 1 million in reserves to reduce the levy and impact for 2026. And that's down from 1.8 that we used in 2025.
24, we didn't use any in 2025.
Okay, so 24. So I'm just looking at this and what our plans would be in 2027 when reserves may be depleted.
Mhm.
And should the board expect then for another significant levy increase, or are there additional efficiencies that you're now seeing working through that you're going to phase in by then?
Mhm. That's a beautiful question. And one that I can't give 100% certain answer to. But what I can say is, at least for the subsequent budget and what we know to be true, in terms of expected revenue and the trajectory for the JDYDCC in particular, as well as the foundation that we've built with offsetting expenses for family preservation efforts and Steve's team and doing a more integrated model with serving our youth. So by that, I mean, if we were to be sending to external partners to be able to provide these services like many counties do and purchase a service instead of doing them internally, we're controlling those expenses. And just to pivot a little, I'm just thinking about as the county of a whole, we talked about the rising costs of purchasing services for mental health and medical. And Chief Deputy Widener and I have been in conversations about creating a local option to support our facilities, both the jail and our juvenile detention center, instead of purchasing through a contracted option, because those are escalating at an exorbitant rate like everything else. So in terms of creative answers and solutions, we still have many, and I think probably ones we don't even know yet. But there probably is a point, and the intention of reserves, they'll be good in bad years. The vast majority of the years, I've returned $1 to $2 million in reserves, and conservative budgeting last year was $4 million. So even if I have one bad year, I'm going to look at the history of how we've spent, and it does seem that we would be fine.
Thank you, Director. I will say that, for all the years that I've sat here in this seat and gone to the Wisconsin Counties Association, Racine County, and I think Supervisor Miller, maybe it was you who maybe applauded this in the past or just kind of somewhat recently. Racine County really is applauded by their innovation. And maybe to go off of the answer you gave to Supervisor Horace, and we really are looked at as a model throughout all of Wisconsin. When we're at the Counties Association, we are really applauded by your department specifically.
Right.
It's these guys.
Nice job.
So great leadership and great team. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Caprillion. Supervisor Miller?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just, talk about counties, which has merit, but Kenosha County has Brookside Care Center. We used to have Ridgewood. I wanted to keep Ridgewood. The county board made a decision not to. For next year, Ridgewood Care Center in Kenosha has 162 employees and a budget of $23 million.
I would like to clarify, though, the numbers I gave you do not include any of that. So those are true levy dollars and do not include anything of the nursing home. It is apples to apples comparison.
Questions? Supervisor Rossi.
Thank you, Chairman. I'd like to speak to that last comment on more of a general note, because
Sure.
not only this presentation, but other presentations have discussed about or mentioned other counties and comparing, what they have versus what we have. And what you'll realize is that a lot of other counties have significantly higher levies, and that's just something that we can't pull from them and use to compare, forget that part of the comparison, and then compare the rest of the levy allocations. And there was another supervisor who made the analogy of looking down the street and you've got a neighbor who's, his one family member's a lawyer and the other one's a doctor, and saying, well, why can't I have everything that they have? Well, it's because you don't have the same job, you don't have the same cash flows. So I appreciate the comparison in terms of the contrast it provides where they are providing more services, but we don't have the means to match them. If we did, we would. Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Coleman.
I just wanted to say, Health and Human Services help more of the community than anybody. And Hope, you've done a great job. For you to have to be cutting positions and things like that for Health and Human Services who help the community the most. Why can't we figure it out better to give you guys what you need? I think we need to dig into this a little bit better, because why do y'all have to continue to sacrifice when y'all do so much for the community? Just my opinion.
Thank you, Supervisor Coleman. Supervisor Preisker.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a question, maybe more for you as a finance chairman. Where do we find the reserves enterprise-wide in the budget book?
I'm going to refer to the
I didn't see
finance
one
chair.
over there.
I'm
I-
here. I'm hiding. The reserves
You can-
are not a budgeted item. They're included in our annual financial reports, which are our audits, our financial reports are on the website. However, in the FAQ, I did answer a question from a supervisor on a 5-year history of the human services reserve. So that's included in that document.
Okay, is the enterprise-wide reserve there, or is Health and Human Services the only?
The specific question from that supervisor was only about human services, but all fund balances for all funds that the county has are included in our financial reports.
In the audit? Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Rossi.
Thank you, Chairman. I would like to speak to the comments that the Supervisor Coleman made, which I do agree with, but I would like to point out in the ACFR 2024 ACFR, which is our audit, and I believe that there was some conversion of contracted positions in the history of the ACFR, but we'll take it after the jump, which I believe was, let me find my place again here. So there was, I think, a conversion of like 30 or maybe more.
Over what time period?
2018 to 2020, sometime in there.
Yeah, that sounds right.
In 2015, Human Services had 157 full-time employees. In 2024, Human Services had 350 employees. So I just want to let everyone know that the county has been significantly increasing the amount of FTEs in Human Services. Again, the comparison of what my neighbor has down the street versus what we have here makes that look like we're not doing anything. But to say that this county, this board and previous boards have not been allocating to Human Services, I believe is a disservice, just my opinion. Thank you.
So since 2015, several things happened. The first and probably most significant would be the conversion of multiple behavioral health staff into from contracted positions into county. We were having intense issues with filling positions. We also had 2 vendors drop us, and we had to scramble to find additional vendors to be able to employ our essential employees. And so as a result, we came to this group, and I don't recall the year, but around that time frame, and it asked to convert several positions from them in the total of, I would think, probably 50 plus over a time period, but they are already existing employees. In 2012, when we referenced the sale program, that's when we decided to stop purchasing of services and bring those in-house. So again, the expenses are shifting from a contract into expenses of employment. So if we have grown into the words prevention, it's being thoughtful about spending money in a more cost-effective manner to be able to defer more expensive costs in the later end. Additionally, what happened in there is public health came onto the human services payroll. We also brought in the medical examiner, UW extension. Help me, there's more, the RCAP program. I think those are the big ones. So the department grew just by administrative responsibility as well. So again, it's difficult when you're looking at budget books from a time period and you're just looking at point in time. It's difficult to explain all of that, but it isn't just like bloated growth again. It's strategic, and some of it was just from merging of other departments.
Thank you, Director Otto. Questions? Supervisor Kelly?
Thank you again for this beautiful sheet. You know how I just absolutely love that thing with all the detail. I do have a question though about the mandated services.
Sure.
Do they mandate the amount that you have to spend? They dictate that as well? Or
No.
No?
No.
Okay. And I will send you an email rather than trying to get figures on the floor. It might just be easier for me to ask for what the amounts are. I couldn't find them in the budget book.
Sure.
For some of the non-mandated services.
Where
the
they are.
levy impact on
Sure.
those. So I did find like the UW extension and the jail alternative. So, and then I did have one last question, if that was
Go
okay.
ahead. Yeah.
All right. I didn't see opioid funds usage in here. Is that being used in this budget?
No,
Anywhere?
it is not.
No. Okay, thank you.
Supervisor Caprillion?
Yeah, just real quick, just in the flyer here.
Okay.
And I don't want to make any assumptions, but the declining state aid of 1.5 mil.
Mhm.
We're not singled out, Racine County, this is across the board.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, can I just add one comment?
Yes.
So the question was clarifying that just because a service may be mandated, it doesn't mandate specific funding. And I will address this just in a general sense. It's not even specific to human services, but if there is a mandated service by state statute and a county, other governmental entity underfunds it to such degree that you can't effectively provide the service, significant legal repercussions can come from that liability. So I just wanted to throw out that additional point for broader context.
Thank you. Questions? One more question. One more. Any questions?
Do you have a question?
Not right now.
Okay.
Thank you. Seeing none, I will move on to the next department head. Thank you very much, Hope, you and your team. The next department head I have on my list is Finance, and Director Zimmer will address the finance area and printing and services. Yes, please. Yeah, you can do it there. Stay there. Well, okay. Where do you, go ahead.
Okay, I'm here. You might not be able to see me, but Byron Dean is passing out a brief one-page handout just to kind of explain the purpose and responsibilities of the finance department. So I'll wait until everybody has that.
Thank you.
And then just to note that our budget begins on page 132. Okay. So for those who don't know me, my name is Gwen Zimmer. I started with the county in 2010 as a data entry AT clerk, and the county invested in me with several education opportunities and promotion, and I became your director in 2021. This is my 11th budget. So very happy to share some metrics around our department. Most 95% of our department is fully levy supported. And so you may think, is this an administrative bloat? Is it a drain on the levy? I just wanted to show some of the things that we're responsible for doing. We're in charge of accounting and general ledger, maintaining all the fund balances, which to Supervisor Preiser's point, at the end of 24 was $265 million. We're responsible for all accounts payable and dispersing of payments to our vendors, including jurors and foster parents and electricity and all of that kind of stuff. We paid $211 million, and that was 33,000 payments that went out last year. We processed payroll for all employee every other week. 26,000 paychecks went out for $68,000 last year. You've seen me and Byron a lot. We are your budget people. I'm very much a working director. Byron and I tag team this budget together. However, I was gone this summer because I had a baby, so you saw him more than you saw me. But we manage $238 million of the budget in 2025. In 24, we performed 71 budget amendments, and those were resolutions and fiscal notes that went before this body. I'm also in charge of purchasing. We handled over 700 purchase orders and contracts last year and performed 44 RFPs with my one purchasing manager. He did all of that on his own. And an RFP usually takes about 6 weeks total, so he's juggling multiple at the same time. I'm also responsible for maintaining all the grants. Obed is the fiscal manager and human services. He jointly reports to myself and to Hope. Most of those grants are human services, but I'm responsible for doing the audit for them. So 52 million there. I work with the county treasurer to maintain our investment portfolio, including the long-term portfolio. Jeff usually does the short-term cash and LGIP, and I handle the long-term portfolio PMA. This committee is probably used to seeing them coming quarterly. Brian Hextall will give updates on that. That's $39 million. And just to note, we're at an average interest rate of 4.5% on that. So pretty good returns. I'm in charge of the audit, which is February through June, and then budget starts June through November. So we really get no break in our area, but I'm happy to report that we received the budget award for an outstanding budget for the 15th year in a row. And then we support the county board in particular with the Finance and Human Resources Committee. Our area last year prepped 27 agendas, 31 fiscal notes, attended all of those meetings, took the minutes, sent them out, coordinated with the chair and other members of the committee. So with that, I'll take any questions.
Questions for Director Zimmer? Questions for Director Zimmer from the board? Supervisor Rossi.
Thank you, Chairman. Just a simple one. Just one of the really biggest change I see is the movement of one HR or HHS employee to your side.
Yes, Supervisor. This was under the advisement of the county executive. He would like to have a more consolidated purchasing. And so we moved a contract monitor who was at HSC, and all of the contracts that derive from state or federal grants, DCF or DHS, require us to do audits, to do RFPs, to do all that compliance. She sat there. But Obed and I spoke, and we realized there was some capacity for her to be able to take on countywide purchasing functions. So we moved her from Taylor Avenue to the courthouse. She assists our purchasing manager, routes a lot of the contracts, does some of the purchase orders on top of the other HSD work. But it was a credit to their area and in addition to our area for that movement.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do I see any other mics on? Any questions? Thank you, Director Zimmer. I will move on to budget item number 5. This is a budget discussion. I had conversation at the end of last week, the beginning of this week with the chairman, and we want to open the floor, and I'll start with the chairman. and have budget discussions specifically about the capital projects that have been proposed in the 2026 budget. That would be on page 464. And outstanding bond issues that are currently in place is on page 394. So I'm going to turn it over to Chairman Kramer. He's got a couple of comments, and then we're going to open up the floor to discuss questions about the capital projects. So that was page 464 for the capital projects and 394 for the outstanding bond issues. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We've got a big task here. We've had a lot of questions, and we had we've been together for 8 hours for the last 2 days and another hour here, so 9. We've got into this as a group asking questions of the committees, and what I've seen and heard prompted me to say next Tuesday we should meet and talk after we sit down and have a little bit of rest time to, put together or think about amendments that individual supervisors want to do. So there's really 2 parts of this budget. There's the bond issuing of the capital projects that we've had questions on, and then we've got the operations. So we keep it straight. I said, let's talk about bonds tonight and then start working on the operational section. I want to hear all your comments. When, we'll need to get any amendments over to Gwen for this budget as soon as possible, because they have to work on the fiscal notes, and it's not necessarily if you unfund a person in an area, it may hit many different accounting areas, wages, social security, retirement, workman's comp, the whole thing. So it's going to take them a little bit of time to get through that. So she would appreciate if you are going to make an amendment to get it over there as fast as you can, so they can do all the work for Thursday night when you guys, the finance committee, meets again, so you can go through these budgets. And then we'll have a discussion on amendments as how you want to see them. Do you want to see all the bonding amendments in one, or do you want to pull one out? Again, this depends on how many we have. I mean, if each of us wrote 5 amendments and we all wanted them all separate, finance is going to be a long time on Thursday night going through. If we bundle them, if we have amendments for, let's say, the clerk's office, if we bundle up the 2 or 3 ideas together, we can maybe pull them out, separate them, or do them as a whole. Anybody want to talk on the capital projects, or should I start? I can start.
Why don't you start?
Okay, well, actually, Supervisor Wishaw started the other night by saying, Marges Park, the bonding here, the funds, and how much we're spending. And he said, let's pull that off, and when I look at this, and I make notes along the way here, we've got some, bonding here that I'll talk about, the necessary ones that I think are kind of necessary. Last night we seen the sheriff talking about the vessel for Lake Michigan, as was in 1971, so that, is putting our officers at risk when the deputies go out in that boat, if they're going out 10, 12 miles. So I'm in support of that. We have a lot of maintenance in here. Now, I sat with County Executive Don, Supervisor Trottier, Miller, Meyer, and we listened to the needs of this, and it's a really really important for the county executive to bring some of the catch-up work that we need to do in. So I'd like to see all the facility work done, the mechanical facility work done, HVAC, fire, UPS backups, things that can take us down and make it really tough for well, for operations. Yeah, you lose a generator or something like that, you need to, and then, there's some courtroom finish up on the 6th floor. And then there's also some, refreshes. IT, we've got some refreshes there. I know there was some discussion that, on the, phone system. And that we can discuss right now if you want. Is there anybody? I'm in 465 with IT.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Yes. Both of you. I would like just a review of that explanation of how the phone system upgrades, and I know they're old, but how that pays off, because it was not clear to me.
He's not here tonight.
I
Okay.
know what it's 3.5 years.
I understand that, but I
guess-
wanted to know how that works, but we can just put it on the FAQ.
Yes. Let's do that.
And then when I go through this, I see like, some of the paving projects. Then we had a lot of questions on how the paving projects are. We have $100,000 study for a bike path on Highway W. Now, we're going to be paving that in the next 2 to 3 years, according to Director Bean. Maybe we should hold off on that. Does the study to see if we can put a bike path in there when we plan to redo the road all at one time. Or if we have enough funding, figure out how much more it's going to cost to design the road in 26 for paving in 2027. And then there's been discussion on the Case Eagle campground design. Does anybody have any feelings on that?
Yes, I do.
Well, I've heard yours. But I didn't call on you.
Okay, I'll wait then. Supervisor Wishaw.
Thank you, Chair. I understand that it's put in because there's the future, we're talking about the Case Eagle campground design, cliffside cabins. I'd like to see those axed because I view those right now more as a want versus a need. So I cross those off.
I'm sorry, both?
Yeah.
You're saying the cabins and the Case Eagle, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
I also axed the Kruger Farm land improvement and then the park tree replacement as well. Then so you're talking golf, the golf grinder. It's on page 464. Page 465, I listed the phone system replacement. I cut that. The IT copper phone study, I axed that. The I guess I need more clarification again on the Ives fiber relocation. So I'm tentative on that. I guess in response to the Highway W comment that the chairman just made, I believe that we were initially requesting that $100,000 for plan and design initially. So that's why that request was placed in there, to see what the feasibility for that future roadway would be. I think Supervisor Preisker could speak further on that. The issue around that road is the pacer rating is not great.
3-4.
What?
It's a 3-4.
Yeah.
Meaning it's in between.
Yeah.
So it's gonna,
But there's also significant growth around that area. I mean, we have multiple subdivisions that are popping up. I mean, it's becoming a very highly traveled road. Multiple family units that are popping up around there. So we're wanting to. I'll yield actually to Supervisor Preisker to expand further on that, but I think that's kind of all I have. Oh, also the Pritchard site development, and then I'd like to see that cut, and then the jury chairs as well. And I guess that's all I have right now.
Mr. Chairman, could I ask if
Go
I
ahead.
could ask Supervisor Wishaw a question or?
Sure.
Certainly.
It's more general. The Gulf area, all of those costs come from the golfers' fees.
Okay.
And forever, as far as I know,
Yeah, they do.
we use the golfers' fees to do capital improvements on the golf courses. So I don't think that would have no impact on the levy, would it? No.
No, okay.
So
That's fine.
But, I'm glad you're asking questions, but I
Yeah.
wanted to make sure everyone understood that.
Sure. No, that's great. I appreciate that. Okay, Tom, you want to, or Preisker, you want to go ahead?
Supervisor Preisker.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Supervisor Wishaw. I wasn't necessarily planning to get into the details of Highway W, but I'm happy to discuss that if the rest of the board is interested.
Okay.
But yeah, Highway W, when I went through orientation almost, a year and a half ago, was, I think, Director Baum went through a presentation of the county and he had all the roads mapped out and color coded based on the pacer rating, and Highway W looked like it was in a color code that was one of the lower pacer ratings. As Supervisor Wishaw mentioned, if you're not familiar with what Highway W is, it's a pretty old, narrow county highway that runs between Highway 36 at the north end of Burlington, runs along the west edge of Browns Lake to Highway 11 at the south end, which is also where Burlington High School is. And the feedback I've got from residents there is that they would like to see some sort of safe way for pedestrians to get along that corridor, especially kids that want to get from the residential neighborhoods to the high school. And as Supervisor Wishaw mentioned, there's been a lot of residential development there in the past 20 years that wasn't there in the past. And I think there's about 100 units, homes, single-family homes that are scheduled to go in. They're being built right now. They'll be completed in the next year. So that's Highway W, but we're going to continue with other questions.
No.
I just had some. The detail of this wasn't on the agenda, so I didn't really come prepared to ask these questions. But my thoughts about capital are, I agree with the board chairman that I do think about the budget in terms of two different budgets. Basically, there's the capital budget, which I think are for the long-lived assets that we're going to borrow for. And I don't think it's the same as a credit card. I think it's the same as like a mortgage on a house, right? It's lasting. We're talking about at least 10-year to 20-year or 50-year lived assets that we would borrow for, not operating expenses. And operations is separate, which can only be paid for by the levy. I do have a question though, just to start with, like, do we have a policy about our debt capacity limit to avoid, I think, other supervisors' concerns and my concern about potential, ratings downgrade? I know in general, the limit is what 5% of the total equalized value, but is there some percentage of that we don't want to get to avoid a bad credit rating, similar to as an individual, you don't want to use more than 30% of your debt capacity, or you get, a negative ratings on your credit score. And if we know that, my thought is we should have an amount that's basically a planned amount that we're going to borrow every year for all the capital projects that we need to do across the enterprise. I'd like to think of it on the whole instead of department by department. But my view is we should be doing enough road miles every year to replace them on whatever year the department says makes sense, a 30-year or 20-year schedule. We should also know what all of our outstanding capital assets are. Like the chairman said, every building, every roof, all the HVAC equipment, and know when it's rolling down to the current year, essentially. So as the years are coming closer, we can prioritize and decide which things need to be done first or which things can be delayed a year. What I don't want to get into is not having a plan or having multiple very expensive capital projects delayed, and then it's an emergency all in the same year and we have to replace multiple things and really blow up the capital plan. So I do see in the book that it does list the debt schedule. And I think you mentioned it, Chairman, on 460. 394. That's not bad. I usually see it listed in the order of maturity, so I can see, the current year of maturity and then what's maturing every year after that. And if we had a plan like that, where every year we were going to do X miles of roads, we were going to replace, the rolling stock coming due, equipment, subscriptions, computers, buildings are related, mechanicals. We should be borrowing a similar amount basically every year. And since the 20-year-old debt is paid off, the incremental amount every year shouldn't be that different. It would basically be the difference in the 20 years of inflation for similar items.
Excuse
so
me,
we shouldn't have major budget impacts.
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
Director Zimmer wants to make a comment.
Okay.
I just want to note, we do not currently have a debt limitation policy. This is something that we heard from the bond rating agency. If we did implement, it could positively impact our score to have that policy. And our financial advisors, PFM, do have the ability to help draft that with us. It would need to come from the board as an ordinance or a resolution, something like that, instead of just like a written policy. And then to note, Supervisor Pritzker, you asked for in the FAQ form, more detailed debt schedule, and I did upload that to the website.
Okay, thanks. I'll check that out. I guess those are my comments. I'd be curious to hear what the other supervisors think, but
Thank you.
yeah, thanks.
Yeah. Supervisor Kelly?
One
Yep,
comment
go
here
ahead.
real quick.
Excuse me.
If we could stay on one section, because I started it wrong.
You-
I bounced all over the
You
place.
jumped out.
I said, let's do this all in the order we
Okay,
were about. So if we can,
I'm going to
s-
allow Supervisor
Yeah, go
Kelly to
ahead.
comment first, because now we're putting a new rule down. So Supervisor Kelly, go ahead, jump around.
Try to stay within this parameters here. So has the borrowings happened already for this capital, or were you in the process of?
For the ones in this book?
Yes.
No, the parameters resolution, which would authorize us being able to go out to market next year, will go the same night as this budget book on the 23rd. And then first reading also that night, following the same trajectory as the budget book. We are going out for a bond on the 28th, so later this month, for parameters resolutions that were done within the last couple of months for Marina, public safety, and the rest of the 911.
Okay, so the capital borrowing total 15 million and change, and that would all be on the debt levy?
It's 14 million and it would all be on the debt levy.
Okay, and thank you for responding earlier to the revolving loan fund, the $500,000. I had asked a question in case nobody knew. I don't know if you put it out there yet, but I was wondering about the RCDC revolving loan fund, if that was an allowable expense for capital borrowings. So thank you for responding to that. I did request a replacement schedule as part of our capital plan. It's really hard for me because, you know, as someone who also does a budget, when I'm looking at the capital, I also have to simultaneously be looking at the replacement and the asset schedule. So I can make those kinds of decisions. And to just be looking at a list of items with the price behind them, I don't know the, you know, the life of it, you know, what the replacement value, I don't, you know, I need a little bit more information. Is there a possibility of getting a replacement schedule for a lot of these items that are listed?
You requested it from Director Bame's area, I
I
believe.
did, but I think we kind of just need it for the
Yeah.
whole, at the sheriff's department,
Yeah.
every section that's listed here.
Understood. We'll work with the county executive on that. I know that it's something that he's got in the works with our data and performance area, so we'll keep working on that.
Thank you.
Supervisor Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Following up on highways, over the years, probably the most calls I get are about our highways. And I know we have data and I know we know condition of our roads, but I think it would help if we had more of a master plan of which roads are oldest. And, you know, there's all kinds of variables. Some roads have trucks, some don't. Some have light traffic, some have heavy, but somehow to score those so we can project when we need to do which roads next. And that's data we definitely need to address.
Thank you. Just for the record, Newman Road to 31, design, 350,000. That is what I get the most calls on. And I'm requesting that be maintained or included in this budget. I get many calls on that stretch of land. So just
Highly
to make a
trafficked, too.
point, just to make a point, and that is a very costly road. I've talked to Director Bame about this, and because it's approximately 6 lanes of concrete, well, 4, yes, excuse me, 4 million plus. It's expensive. And so I'm making that strong case to maintain that in the budget of 350,000. Also, just Director Zimmer, what did we borrow last year? What was the dollar amount?
15.2 million.
So 15.2 in 2025, right?
Well, actually, if you refer to the debt schedule on 394, the final issuance amount was 15,345,000.
And we're at 14 this year, correct? Okay, just a point I want everybody to know. So we have reduced the amount we're borrowing $1 million this year. So everybody knows. Supervisor Hoffman.
I just wanted to add your comment about Spring Street between Highway 31 and Newman Road. I know I've had several phone calls myself, along with some other supervisors I've been talking to, along with our DPW. So it's a very common problem. So I want to give my 2 cents worth on that also.
Supervisor Pritzker?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Preisker, I'm sorry.
Thank you. It is Preisker, everyone, for the record. It's not Prusker, it's not
It's
Pritzker. It's
Preisker.
Preisker. It's like the price is right.
Okay, let's all practice that. Preisker.
Thanks. Thanks, everyone. I mean, regarding highways and roads, I would like to see us get those on basically a 2-year schedule where year 1, we're budgeting for design of the year 2 roads. And then in year 2, we're just implementing those that way. And I know we've done most of it in-house, and maybe there's a concern about capacity of what can be done in-house. But to keep up with our replacement schedule, we may not be able to do it all in-house, or, I mean, we may or we may not, I don't know, but, so that's one thing I would like to see. My impression of this budget, without knowing exactly the recommendation of DPW staff on what they think is to Supervisor Miller's point, what they think is a reasonable, useful life for a road, if it's 30 years or only 20 years, if it's heavily trafficked. But we know we have 338 lane miles of road. It's just simple math, right? If we know the roads, we know how long it's gonna last, then that's how much we should be replacing every year. And whatever the cost per mile is pretty much known also, and that's how much we need to budget and borrow for in that given year. So it seems to me like we're underdoing it on roads for this year to keep up with the replacement schedule. And I'd like to see us get onto an adequate replacement schedule sooner than later.
Any other comments about roads?
Yeah.
Supervisor Hopkins.
I'm just gonna add to the chorus in regards to said Spring Street section. I filled a call to myself too, so it's definitely a highly mentioned piece of road that a lot of our constituents want to be resolved. So I'm just kind of added to the chorus.
Thank you. Okay, I'm gonna just go, any other comments about the roads for the record? I'd like highway equipment comments. Supervisor Rossi,
Thank you, Chairman. I was trying to get a comment in under
excuse me.
roads.
On the roads, I apologize.
I'm just going to echo some of the sentiments that were already stated, that, and I'm looking to remove items from other capital spends and shift them towards roads so that we can get our lane miles back up. Again, it was mentioned, it feels like we've been in this room for 10 hours, so my days are mixed now. But when Director Ben was speaking, I believe it was, we went from 5 lane miles, or center line miles, to 3 lane miles. And obviously, I just think I should make a distinction right now for everyone, is that lane miles versus center lane miles, you can have a 2-lane road versus a 4-lane road. Well, a center lane mile wouldn't make a distinction between a 4-lane or a 2-lane road. But lane miles would pick up that distinction. So I believe it's 163 is what the ACFR was saying. And then there was an FAQ item that came out. And Director Bem, could you help me with our lane miles if you?
Center lane miles are 166. Lane miles, they have logged at 336. It's actually closer. When they did that, they actually just doubled basically what they did for our center lane miles. We have closer to 400 lane miles.
Thank you.
Thank you. Highway equipment. I think we covered golf. Yeah, okay, I'm just finishing on page 464. Golf is on the bottom, so I addressed highway equipment, building, highway roads. And I did jump over bridges, dams, but that's under the category, and then golf. Supervisor Rossi.
Sorry, I might have missed my slot there. If I could jump back to the
Yeah,
roads.
go ahead, go ahead.
With, if there's one that I would like to look at removing in there, I hate to do it, Supervisor Preisker, but I would look at that CTS County Highway W pavement, as it's not a road. Thank you.
Okay. Supervisor, Chairman Kramer.
Yeah, what I was thinking, and I was thinking on the same level as Supervisor Rossi, that was for the design and study for a bike path because there's gonna be some challenges there, no doubt. But with the pacer rating lower, and I talked with, it's a 3-4. You know, that's where if we do move money in there, you know, we could get an estimate from the director to see what it would cost to design for the rebuild on that at the same time as looking at the bike path. Doing it separately, you know, if it doesn't fit if it doesn't fit in the profile, then, you know, we're gonna spend $100,000 to tell us that we have to buy land from homeowners.
Right.
And anybody that was here when KR was, it's a tough sell.
Expensive.
And, you know, you can't do what we did with KR where we could condemn it for a road. We can't condemn it for a bike path. So, you know, it's a little trickier. But if it, you know, so that's kind of, you know, why I feel it should be an all or nothing kind of thing.
Agreed.
Thank you.
Supervisor Preisker?
Well, for sure, we don't want to call it a bike path is number one. But I agree with Supervisor Rossi. If it's just, I mean, that this goes to what our capital policy is, I guess. If it's just design work, I don't know that it is big enough to qualify to be capitalized over 20 years of borrowing. But if we're going to lump design work in with the road budgets and capitalize it, yeah, I mean, that's a judgment call. I mean, you cannot capitalize it, but then we're using operating budget. So then that's, you know, less money we have for people. So, I mean, that's a policy question for the whole board, I guess.
Director Zimmer can answer that.
So the auditors allow us to capitalize a design if it leads into a project. So if we knew we were doing the design this year and the project next year, I'd create it as a construction in progress kind of asset. And then once the road was completed in the next year, I would capitalize the two assets together.
All right, thanks. That is the intent. And that's what we're doing for this one project. But, you know, I think that would be a good policy for all road projects would be, again, you do design in year one and that leads to the project in year two.
Yeah, we've done that.
Okay,
Yeah.
great, thanks.
So
Supervisor Kramer, to clarify?
Well, no, I'm just saying that, okay, so we're designing the Newman to 31 because we know by supervisors getting calls and not try to, you're jumping up and down for the last 3 years. That needs to be done. So the price tag I heard on that is $4 million. Now that's a expensive concrete section. And this is where, you know, Supervisor Presker and I talked a while. I said, sometimes it's not necessarily the lane miles that you have to do, but the cost comes into play. Because if you're doing Highway B out in the town of Dover, you know, that's very minimal use. It doesn't have the heavy traffic that Highway C does, so you can build that a little bit less. Or even if you're doing a rustic road, where I was told this week, we don't get any funding for it at all, so it's all on our dime. So you got like Maple Road out by me and Loomis Road, and a few county rustic roads. You know, so it's sometimes, guys, the dollar amount's gonna dictate how many miles of road you can do. You know, just forward though. So that's kind of why, you know, especially with the, you know, with the design coming of that. So shortly, we'll be out there working. So you'll get calls about problems
I'll
with
get
that.
calls on that.
Thank you, Mr.
Supervisor Rossi?
More so a question for, thank you, Chairman. A question for Supervisor Preisker. Is that Brown Lake Drive?
Yeah, it's also called Browns Lake Drive.
Okay.
That's it.
Yep.
Yeah, and I completely understand the chairman's, I mean, I'm not fighting with Newman for Highway W. It doesn't matter if Highway W gets done in 28. It'd be nice to have the design work done so that we can know what the plan is going forward, because it could be another big expensive one if it's going to include a lakefront property land acquisition. Just, saying.
Yeah. Just. Okay. Dams. I jumped over that. Anybody have bridges, projects? Can I move on past golf to IT? Let's talk IT. I heard some comments about IT, the phone replacement system. I'd like to maintain that in the budget. There's, I believe, a 3.5-year payback on that. So the turnaround is phenomenal for putting that kind of capital into it. And 3.5 years is the payback now. I'm believing what the director said, Robert, and I'd like to leave that in the budget. Supervisor Kelly.
Actually, I had my button on when you said equipment, but we kept going back from roads to equipment to
Okay.
roads to equipment.
Go ahead.
So
Go
I'm
ahead.
still stuck on equipment.
Okay.
So, like I had said before, I really need to see some sort of a schedule, but I would like to hear from Director Brem about the trucks. We just had to order the 1-ton trucks, and I know there is a really long wait time on these. So if you could speak on some of these asks that he has listed here.
Well, conveniently, Director Boehm is here. And thank you for being here, number one, and proceed.
So Director Zimmer put 3 5-year capitals on. They're on the website right now. We have the 5-year capital for parks, we have the 5-year capital for machinery, and we have the 5-year capital for highways all on the website right now, so you can access those.
Just now.
It was yesterday, I believe you put those on? Yeah, but yesterday she put those on. So right now for our 1-ton trucks, we've been just picking them up where we can find them. We switched from orange to white we're going with, because white is a much easier color to find. And we don't have to, we stopped painting them that Omaha orange that we've always done just to save money on that. So we're slowly switching from an orange fleet to a white fleet. And then the longest wait that we have are actually for our tandems, our tandem actual dump trucks is what the weight is. Previously, it was a wait for the cab and the chassis. We build our own trucks, so we order a cab and chassis. We put the boxes on them. We put the wings, the spreaders, the plows. We put everything right in house. And so now the wait is actually for the accessories that go with the cab and the chassis. So before it was about a 2-year, 3-year wait for the cab and chassis. Now we're able to get those in about a year. But the wait is actually for the rest of it.
Right. Okay, that was what I was looking for because we had a considerable wait time ourselves. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Director. See Supervisor Rossi.
Thank you, Chairman. To the IT phone system replacement, I would like to see some hard data on how there's a repayment of 3 years on 675,000. That would be, I mean, does anyone know how many phone subscriptions we have, or is it lump sum? Because that would be a 200,000. We're overpaying by 200,000 right now. It's very hard to believe. I'd love to see data on that one.
No issues. Let's get it. We'll get it.
Until then, I'd like to see IT phone system replacement removed, IT tech refresh, and IT copper phone study removed. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, may I offer just a general suggestion, just an observation that, so the department heads were here the last few nights, opportunity to answer questions. I understand that it's a lot for all of us to digest and that there are continuing to be additional questions. It's helpful for me hearing, I can pass information on to others, but that's where I think that FAQ document can be particularly helpful and particularly if there's consideration of not supporting an item, just allowing for the opportunity to explain, particularly if questions were not asked or if information was not requested at that time. I think it could be really helpful for the board, just something that I would encourage.
It's so well noted, yours. As we go forward, could we hit on the topics where you cannot have them answered under an FAQ? Because I think most of these can be answered, the questions that we're coming up with on the FAQ. So if we could send those to Gwen and she'll get a hold of different department directors, I'd like to handle it that way unless there's something else that can't be answered on the FAQ. Supervisor Caprillion?
Just making comments here. I will say, I understand that approach, and I think, yes, follow it, but I sure do appreciate it getting brought up right here, right now. So maybe it's not following ideal because the department heads aren't here, but just hearing it, it then allows me to focus on an area and do homework. It's very difficult for me when amendments come up and I don't have enough time, I don't think, to digest it and to make it on the floor. So I appreciate that they're coming up this evening, and then go ahead and follow the protocol that you're asking to be followed. So just a comment of at least how I digest it.
Thank you for your comment. I'd like to maintain what I said. Supervisor Coleman?
I was just looking at this IT copper phone study. Why would we need a study for that? Why? If we want to get rid of copper and move into VoIP or whatever. Yeah.
I'm not the person to ask that question.
Why we gotta be doing all these studies?
Could you put that in the FAQ, please?
Yes.
Thank you. Supervisor Kramer, Chairman Kramer.
Thank you, thank you. So the IT copper study, and I've got it written down here, is mapping the copper lines in our buildings. So the future IT requirements, they know where they're going. It's kind of a roadmap, you know. And I disagree with the Supervisor Rossi and IT for refresh, and if Gwen's sitting over there, isn't that like a revolving? That's kind of the same thing we're talking about roads, is refreshing and getting the tablets and updates and the computers and cell phones up to date, you know, or the next generation. That's what, as I understand, correct?
Gwen?
An IT
refresh, is that updating the computers and
It's a replacement kind of.
replacing those that are
Yeah,
running?
I don't want to speak for the IT director. He did address this during his presentation this week. So if you have further question, Assistant IT Director Davis.
Dave's here.
That one, as far as the IT refresh.
Dave, could you speak in the mic, please?
The IT technology refresh is for devices, laptops, desktops.
Right.
If it's something beyond that, usually the department pays for the monitors and other things. But we handle that. So we have 1,300 devices. We have a whole bunch that have not been, should have been replaced in the past couple of years, but for various reasons, we've cut the technology budget down a little bit. And so we're kind of catching up. So some devices are out of warranty, which doesn't mean they can't still be used. But if they get damaged or something, we're going to be buying a new device. If a department wants to add a person and add a device, then they pay for it. Otherwise, all the replacements come out of our budget. And what we're looking at is about 320, 350 devices that really need to be replaced. Some of them won't even run Windows 11. And that's one of the, so we're replacing what we can this year. And I'm guessing that our technology refresh capital is going to probably be less than, by the end of the year, probably less than $50,000 available in there.
Thank you,
So
Dave.
we're not carrying over a whole lot of money. So that's the main reason for it. Does that answer?
Does that help?
Yes, thank you. I'll wait to be.
Yep.
Oh, for the next.
Okay. Supervisor Horth.
Actually, I think I probably will jump off the mic because I have a question just in general about the whole capital process. So when we're ready for that, because I didn't know if we were jumping through this because of the FAQ process or not. So
Yeah, I'd like to get back to the FAQ process. I mean, I understand that some could understand this a little bit better in person.
Mr. Chair, can I suggest a compromise? I think I would agree with Supervisor Caprelli in that it does help the body to hear what's on supervisors' minds. We may not get a full explanation tonight, and I do think it should be on the FAQ, but it does help to at least surface it tonight.
And Mr. Chairman, if I may, I made that comment. By no means was I.
No. I mean,
Suggesting that,
no.
it was agenda.
I know you did.
I think it's tremendous for the supervisors to discuss thoughts about things. It's only on those more technical details. of
Right.
Requesting information, particularly if somebody's not here.
That is my point. Thank you.
I was not suggesting to curb or chill discussion.
I don't have some of the specifics to answer the questions. Thank God that Supervisor Bain was here and Dave is here. So those technical questions, and appreciate the questions, Supervisor Rossi. But I do recall Robert last night saying, it's a 3-year savings. I mean, 3.5, I think. But you're right. I mean, it's a good question that we need on the FAQ. He's not here to answer it. Okay.
Oh, that's completely understandable in
Yeah,
that circumstance.
got it. Okay. So I'll compromise. I'll go on for a little bit. Supervisor Kramer,
No,
Supervisor Preisker.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Chairman. So I like the FAQ process. It's my first time going through that. Sort of to Supervisor Caprillian's point, there are a lot of questions that are asked and answered out there, but it's hard to know what those questions are getting at, right? And I guess my question is what we're going to do about it. So there are lots of questions about highways and roads, and I apologize that. Can we also clarify how we pronounce Raleigh's last name? Because I've heard like 5 different.
Bame.
It's Bame.
Bame. Beam.
See? Beam. All right.
And it's Raleigh, as in Raleigh fingers.
Right. Raleigh Beam and Tom Preisker. All right. Just so we've got that clarified. I mean, so, regarding the road, I'm wondering what we're going to do about the road situation and how we can get on a pathway or plan to try to solve this better. I think
We passed that. We've all been here. And that's something that we can't decide on tonight. And I understand we want to pave more roads. I get that. But if we don't move off of roads, we have different categories here we need to talk.
We do.
I know. The only reason I use it's emblematic of everything, though. It's like we need a similar schedule for all the assets we own, and then we can make better decisions. But
And heard and
Yeah.
noted, please, please, Tom.
Yeah, I can't put a plan together tonight.
no,
I can't put a plan together before we have the first reading in order to discern which one of these items we should or should not incorporate.
I understand.
I can't do it. I'm a time commitment. This will be addressed as we move forward after this budget. Okay. Any other comments about IT, information technology? Supervisor Rossi.
Thank you, Chairman. I'll be quick. I amend my removal of the IT refresh, and I'll just knock it down to 150. How's that? Thank you.
Compromise. Love it. Any other IT comments? Finance Department comments? Supervisor Kelly.
Thank you. Do I not show when I hit my button?
I look too fast.
Okay. Just a quick question about the time clock replacement. I know a lot of places have moved to using the online technology for clocking in and out. And I saw some advancements in technology in your notes there in your budget. What department uses the old school time clock or new school? Or
Primarily the 24/7 operations, the correction officers and 911 because they're not supposed to have their phones on them. But we did upgrade. We use UKG, formerly Chronos, as our time clock system. We upgraded to the new version. Let's see, we went live earlier this year. And with that, the old time clocks that we had back from 2012 are no longer able to be used. So they will be end of life in 2026. So they are available in every building. Like the courthouse has 2, the law enforcement center has 1 or 2, patrol station, all of those, mostly the areas that you're not allowed to have your phone on you.
okay, thanks.
Good. Supervisor Kelly? Okay, good deal. Land information? County executive?
Chair.
Yes. Supervisor Spencer, and I'm sorry. Supervisor,
Yeah, she can go first.
Supervisor Spencer.
Just jumping back, land information, that was an FAQ I sent this afternoon, so I didn't expect an answer already, but I don't know what LiDAR enhancement is. And that's what I asked about.
Yep, we'll get it answered. You had noted it's in the 3-year plan, but it's actually included in the budget this year. And Director Beam did refer to it in his presentation, but there was a lot going on that night, so I totally understand. It's to enhance the GIS system through land information and register of deeds so that people can buy better quality of images from the GIS system, and this will come from reserves. The register of deeds area, when somebody purchases from the Land Shark system, that revenue goes into a non-lapsing account for future technology upgrades for exactly this kind of purpose. But we'll get it answered in the FAQ as well.
Just to follow up that, so that means for those who might not know, it's not on the levy.
Supervisor Wishaw, you're good? Okay. County executive? Revolving RCEDC? Facilities management, let's talk about that. Supervisor Rossi?
Thank you, Chairman. Starting at the 465, so the bottom of the page. FM flooring refresh, the second line item. Third, FM building refresh. And then if we go to the next page, you'll see an asterisk towards the middle bottom of the next section, which is Pritchard site development. And then clerk reports AV tech upgrade, clerk reports 6th floor AV courtroom or courtroom AV, DA victim witness refurb, and then the chairs. Chairs gotta go. Thank you.
Comments? Could Supervisor Rossi, I got most of them. Could you repeat those for me, please?
It'll be the bottom 4 of the category, and then skip COC first floor courtroom ceiling, and then Pritchard site development.
And also,
And then the last 2 on the previous page.
correct, okay.
And if I may clarify, are those all eliminations, reductions that?
Eliminations.
Okay, thank you.
Supervisor, excuse me, Chairman Kramer?
You can call me super, it called worse. The Pritchard site development, we need to ask a little bit further question on that because in discussion with that, I believe that's required for us to do enhancements on that with the stadium, or is that, I didn't see any, I don't have any notes here.
No, it's related to the aquatic center. It's
Yeah.
not this.
That's the aquatic center.
Upgrades to the aquatic center.
Okay. Okay, all right.
Any comments? Any additional comments from anyone? On facilities management?
Sure.
Supervisor Wishaw?
I'll support Supervisor Rossi's um, request for removal.
Okay.
And I do not. I don't know what process we're following here as to how we make these decisions. But I do not support the removal of the sixth floor courtroom AV.
Mr. Chairman, that's a good point raised. I think this is an opportunity for individual supervisors to raise issues. If you wish to change the budget, that's the responsibility of that supervisor to work with the finance department on an amendment, which we will then vote on. And I don't know if you're going to allow that next week. It might be helpful because then we won't be here till 1 AM on budget night, but I don't know. Something
Yeah.
that I don't have an answer, but something to ponder.
We're just discussing this now to get everybody's opinion and see how they feel. This is it, but it is your responsibility to submit these. Either adding things or omitting things. Supervisor Rossi.
Thank you, Chairman. I have the impression from the board chairman that if there were some aggregate items where multiple supervisors agreed on, that it would be better to collect those and present those as one amendment. So I thought that is what we were doing here.
But responsibility of drafting that. That's, yeah.
You contact Gwen, email. Is that the best way to do it, Gwen? Or am I talking out of?
Sure, yeah, the form is also, say, it's pretty simple. It's, you know, source or use if you're moving from one account to another in the operations budget, or if you're just cutting a project in here, or if you wanted to move, you know, like from parks to highway or whatever, you just plop the account numbers in there. But I am very happy to help. We'll have open office hours Monday and Tuesday.
Thank you, Chairman. And thank you, Director Zimmer. So we'll look at this as an opportunity for us to individual supervisors to identify synergy and then proceed from there.
Right.
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yep. How about parks? What do we think about the request on parks?
Mr. Chairman, I just want to commend Supervisor Wishaw for his gallant initiative of removing something that he's felt was important.
Yeah, I have a comment on the cliffside cabins. I believe the 3 cabins were explained and those could be rented out and the turnaround time on the rents of those. Gosh darn, I didn't quote it. I didn't write it, but 4 years? Okay, 4.5 years. I'm requesting that those be maintained in the capital budget. Excuse me, Raleigh's here.
Just to clarify for the cabins, it was 4 years and we calculated that would be rented 1/3 of the days available. That was the calculation.
Thank you. It's important. Okay.
Chairman,
Supervisor Meyer.
thank you. Just echoing your concerns on the campground design. I think that's something with the campground facilities that we have, the 2, I think this year, talking to Ben, there was like $560 some thousand that the campgrounds generated. This is something that would be used. It would be something that would generate some money and revenue for the county. So I think it's something that we should really consider.
Thank you. Supervisor Kramer,
Thank
our
you.
Chairman Kramer.
Just I believe the Kruger Farmland Improvement is a grant that we get from, for the land conservation group. And that's to do some restoration projects, wetland scrape, and then clean up the woods out there. So I don't know, is that the 70,000 that we get it back? Or
It's actually a match, so we received the grant for the Kruger restoration already. It was, I believe it was 80,000 that we got, and it would take additional 70,000 to finish up that project to restore it.
okay, so that's kind of,
Mm-hmm.
that's a 50-50 or a little bit better than that. So.
Correct.
Okay, I just wanted to make everybody aware that that's what I thought it was. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Supervisor Spencer?
So I was going to comment on the Kruger Farm Land Project as well, because I serve on that committee. And it's a great opportunity for education. And with the grant, it shouldn't be kicked down the road, in my opinion.
Okay, thank you.
I also want to comment on the cliffside cabins. My thought was, can we build one cabin and see how it goes before we take on the other two? Where'd Raleigh go?
He's here.
I don't know the layout of the land out there. But you said it was like
You can take all three, I mean, you can take all three of them out if you'd like, but it's basically those three cabins are going to be going. We have 3 group sites. The group sites are the sites that we have rented the least because it's just they're big, a very big footprint. They cost a little bit more. More people are looking at more of those individual campsites with the RV campsites is what they're looking at. So this was going to be a void to fill the group campsites up with an amenity that we've had a lot of requests for these cabins already. And so that was one of the reasons why we're thinking we'll put them in the group campsites and be filled out year round is what it would be. And I don't think they're going to be filled out year round because we're only open till Halloween. But like I said, we calculated 1/3 is what we calculated of the time that they'd be filled because that's what the group campsites are right now. I do think they'd be filled a lot more than 1/3. I think they'd be filled probably every weekend, but certainly there's nothing saying you can't take out all 3 of them if you wanted to take out all 3.
Can I ask how many people the cabins are going to be built for?
They are 12 by 20, I believe. So you could probably,
4.
I'm going to say 4 to 6. Yeah.
All right, thanks.
No water. No water. It's camping with parks anymore? Sheriff's Office. I will say I have talked to the sheriff and Deputy Widener year in and year out about the squad cars. I'd like to leave them in, no doubt about it. Those are necessary. This has been going on and on since I've been a county board member of replacing them. And it seems like we're getting better usage out of the squad cars over time also. So I am definitely voting to maintain those in, as well as the rifle replacement and the boat that, where is that one here? Yeah, the $500,000. Supervisor Rossi?
Thank you, Chairman. I believe this was 6 squad cars, or was it 8?
8.
8 squad cars. Okay, I would like to take that down to 6, and I'm gonna think about the motorcycle. Thank you.
Supervisor Kelly. Yeah.
He wasn't sure if you
I
saw
don't know, your cup kind of hides it. Can you rest? There you go. There you go.
So I would also need that unless it's online, the replacement schedule for these items for the sheriff's office, is that? Okay, so I thought they already had a surveillance trailer. Do we happen to know why we're getting a brand new one? No?
He was here.
They said it was real.
Yeah.
End of life is what they told me.
End of life.
Sure. So I have looked at other communities and maybe, I don't know if now is the time to bring this up, but I do notice that when they were describing that Axon package last night, that some of it did have some equipment in it. Is that correct? Yes. So I do notice that they put that in their capital instead of putting it in their operating budget. Is there a particular reason why we're putting that heavy of a ask on the levy in the operations?
I think we'll need to look at the proposal. I'll look at the PowerPoint that they presented to that joint government services and executive committee. We did speak with Kenosha County and they capitalized on their end, but they own the software and they're looking at going to Axon next year. And the finance director does not anticipate being able to bond for it anymore, that it's the cost of the equipment is offset by the cost of the subscription. So like you get it for, don't quote me, but you get it for $1 if you pay for the subscription. So
Yeah, if we could add
Yeah.
that to the website as a question, because I really, I've seen it also at the city where they do have that in their capital as well. So I definitely would like to see that moved over. That's all I have for now.
Thank you. Supervisor Spencer.
Mine will go to FAQ, but I'd noticed the DA said that she had Axon in her department as well. So I'm wondering just how much Axon products or software the county has already.
the district attorney has a software subscription, which you can't bond for, and it's $50,000 a year for 10 years. Is that correct, district attorney?
It is. It's really just paying for the cloud storage.
If you can't hear that, it's paying for the.
Paying for cloud storage, Tricia said. Go ahead, Tricia.
So the subscription that I pay for pays for the cloud storage as well as the case management system. And it took me a couple of years, but every single police agency in the county is now on evidence.com with Axon. So we're all seamless in terms of storage and sharing, which has been fantastic.
So, one thing I have looked into about Axon is it's everywhere and it's growing and it's really trying to get in every community. So my hesitation is, what happens when they have everything they need and then, they post for something, I don't know. It's scary to me because of privacy issues, but your department, I get the software. It's the whole package that the sheriff's department is going for that gives me concerns about privacy. My point is that they're just huge. They're getting into every community because they offer these low prices or reasonable prices. And then what happens in 10 years as far as prices blowing up? Just a thought.
And I've had that thought myself, now that we're so dependent on them. But I will tell you that their product, nobody can touch it. I mean, Motorola, Panasonic, when the other agencies were on different systems, it doesn't come anywhere near what they can offer us in terms of usability.
Yeah, I believe they're putting some of those other companies out of this market.
Sounds like Ma Bell back in the 60s and 70s.
Yeah, I certainly wish
Really?
I had bought some Axon stock a few years ago. Yeah, no problem.
Supervisor Kelly.
Thank you. I just wanted to update my request to Gwen, because I happened to notice that they also had body cams listed on Health and Human Services. So maybe if we could have a breakdown of how many different departments, as to what Supervisor Spencer had said, that actually have these items, if it's spread across multiple departments, And if that could be, you know, if it's equipment, if it could be moved to capital.
The Health and Human Services one, just for informational
Yeah.
purposes, just at the YDCC, where there's a correctional setting, so none of the social workers have body cameras. So, if that helps.
Okay. How are we doing? Any questions? I thought this was really good. Thank you for all the feedback that we've heard this evening.
Mr.
Do we
Chairman.
have one more? I'm missing. Who? Oh, I'm sorry, Supervisor Horth. That's right. You did want to sum something up.
It's okay. I appreciate that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I presume we're done with the individual departments
Mhm.
now? Okay. First of all, I apologize that I was not properly prepared for this tonight. I didn't realize we were going to get into it in this level of detail. I certainly would have done my job to try to be more aware. To our corporation counsel, I did listen last night in detail as well as the night before. But the way things were getting discussed in this, there was just, everything was getting mired in the amount of time we were spending. So I didn't come away with answers that I might have wanted based on maybe my being better prepared for that. I will ask a couple of questions though. And first of all, I would like to say thank you to my fellow supervisors here that were better prepared, and they've asked some incredible questions. And I think it's been valuable and helpful for all of us to hear it. But a couple of questions that I did want to ask is, number one, when we are starting the process of the budget for this year, for the new year, is any guidance given to the individual department heads for what their capital performance or capital expenses should mirror or should look like? Doesn't always have to be exact, but at least it gives them a guidance that says, okay, here is roughly what we should anticipate. Now, what I'm familiar with in the past is that it's done based on a percent of revenues. Now, whether those revenues are coming out of a department, coming out of the total body, it gives you an opportunity to say 3%, 4%, 5%, or some other number. I'm curious about that because when I look at some of these numbers, let's just say they're rather large. And I don't know whether or not there was a starting point that they had an understanding that it would make sense if they were within an arena. Now, it doesn't mean you can't go beyond that. But the second part of my question then is that I would offer that it might make some sense that going forward, that capital items that are being requested, and maybe it exists and I missed it. It's very possible. I was unable to participate last year because of my personal situation. So if it was in there and I didn't hear it, see it, again, it's on me. But I'm familiar with a capital item coming back with a specific detail that says this is what this capital item will do, and this is exactly what we're expecting to get out of it. Whether it be duration, whether it be end of life, whether it be whatever. I'm looking at individual numbers here, and I am absolutely ill-equipped to say that nothing on here should be done right now, simply because I just don't know. I haven't had a chance to study that. The last comment or question, last comment is I might recommend that if any of these capital items going forward, however we choose to present them, has a revenue component attached to it, then I think we should know that. I heard already earlier, Raleigh, thank you very much for mentioning the item regarding the cabins. And I think Chairman, trying to get all these Chairman Trotter tonight, I'd like to say thank you for mentioning that, yeah, there's going to be a revenue stream that we're going to get for this. So I think when we're looking at some of these, if there is an ROI that's going to come back, it would be helpful for us to be aware before we start saying, I don't think this makes sense, and I don't think that makes sense, simply for that very reason. So with that, I appreciate everybody's indulgence and thank you for the opportunity to share my opinions.
Okay, I'm gonna keep track of the questions that you asked. I'm
Go
sorry
ahead.
to interrupt. For the third question, Supervisor Horath, if you refer to page 467, there's a note that says asterisk capital projects to either generate revenue or contribute to operational savings. Any project that has an asterisk on it, the county executive has deemed that it would provide revenue or operational savings. And that is new this year, so I apologize if we didn't call it out. That was Ralph's idea. I don't remember the second question. I don't think I can answer it. The first question, County Executive, are you okay with me speaking to that? We did not provide the departments a target level of
Right.
capital this year. We did last year with Jonathan's passing, just because there wasn't enough time, resources to be able to fully so we said, whatever your capital was last year, if you had 2 million, only give us 2 million. For this year, I don't want to speak on his behalf, but I think that Ralph really wanted to see what the departments thought their needs were, and he wanted to see everything come through, and then he would speak with them. He would speak with the county board leadership, figure out what the appetite was to move forward. Just to explain the process that we have a little bit, we refer to them as decision packages. We ask the departments to fill out a form of that decision package that would explain the project, the purpose. It doesn't, I don't think, get into the full detail of like useful life, that kind of stuff, but it will have description. It will have any revenue that's generated from it, any kind of like verbiage like that, which would help the county executive in approving or not approving that package. That starts in June.
I might respond just, by the way, thank you. It does help. And I'm certainly, I saw this. With all due respect, there must be some 60, 70 items on here, maybe more. And if you're thinking that I'm going to have to go through and punch in account number 33110064 to put this item in and then find out, I'm sorry, I just don't have that kind of time to do it. So I'm looking, maybe is there an easier way to help communicate what some of those items may be, or maybe it's based on a dollar amount or some way that we have a better sense of exactly what it's representing. Again, I'm just being honest about it.
Yeah, no. What I'm noting is that process doesn't currently exist. So I understand what you're saying. Like, you're wondering if the useful life of the project or like further detail about the project. Is that what your question is?
I think it's all of the above.
Okay.
All right. And again, it's just simply, maybe this is just talk, because by the way, I will say the same thing next week when we talk about operations, about guidance.
Yeah.
Because to me, it at least establishes a framework. Frameworks can be changed.
Yeah.
But at least it gives something as a start to know how we might end.
Yep. I'll refer to the county executive.
Thank you again.
So Supervisor Horth, to answer some of your questions with my processes this year, I asked everybody to submit everything, basically to see what they thought their needs were. And then we had discussions after that based on priorities, okay? Looking historically at what bonding levels have been in the past when there hasn't been big capital projects and seeing what the appetite was. I included in there Highway W and Marges Park because they were supervisor requests. After that, I tried to take into account an overall picture of what the county needs were, okay? So like, I probably had 4 or 5 different requests from different departments for flooring requests. And I asked the question, do we determine what our flooring needs or what our maintenance needs are based on actual need or who's the loudest? And the answer I got back is who's the loudest? And I don't want to do business like that. Going forward, I want to have buildings and facilities function at a level where they can assess what's going on with maintenance issues and give me a priority list. And then we can set that priority. As far as dollar amounts, because there's such a vast different needs across the departments, like the sheriff's with their boat and the different capital expenses, I tried to fit those in based on what the historical total bonding was. So I can't completely explain my process to you because it's up here, but it was based on overall priorities and needs in the county. There were things on there that I think should have been included, but I didn't think we had the bonding appetite to go beyond that level. As an example, we have a building here where one of the end walls is coming off and the foundation is breaking, right, Raleigh? And that's a big deal. We have roofing issues across the county, and I've used the term cold patch. We've done a lot of cold patching over the years with county properties, okay, temporary fixes on permanent issues. So I looked at this as being a multi-year process, like the courtroom request. I think the courtroom request was initially 900,000 almost. So I looked at it First of all, I asked, do we have the capacity to handle this internally? We did not have the capacity to manage such a project like that all at one time. Wouldn't work. Clerk of Courts was requesting that. So I took a look at it. We have ceiling tile falling down in courtrooms. We have rain gutters in the law enforcement center under drain pipe to corral the drains, okay? So there's a lot of issues like that. But like the courts, the courtrooms, I split it up or tried to split it up in my mind over a period of 3 or 4 years because we can't handle the workload simply. So that was my capital bonding process. Now I'm hearing the discussion and I appreciate the discussion on it and I take that into account as well. So I also asked them to give me a list of capital projects or look at capital projects with a high degree of ROI or where there's ROI, like the cabins, the phone system. Now I hear the questions about the phone system, Supervisor Rossi, and I will dig into that and get those numbers back to you. As an example, we had a spreadsheet put together. I don't know if it ended up on the FAQ yet or not for the one of the requests from the sheriff, the Axon contract. And what it shows is based on inflationary pressures, the 10-year contract, we were worried about the $300,000 increase. What it shows is that if you lock in those prices over a period of time down the road, and again, I'm looking down the road with these contracts, it shows a savings afterwards and it shows an ROI actually on the Axon contract by locking into it. I don't know about you folks, but I don't see prices going backwards anytime soon. So you have to take into account inflation when we do these contracts. So that was the factors that I tried to take into account when I made these decisions. So, okay?
Thank you.
Chairman?
Yes, so Tuesday night, we'll work on the operational budget. Come prepared. I think some of the, unless we, you know, I hope to get that done in 3 hours, you know. So come prepared to ask questions or have this kind of discussion back and forth so we know what's on each other's mind. Because if I go, well, I think we should do this, and everybody in 4 you say, I don't think that's a good idea, you know, I support this, I support this, I support this. Well, that's gonna make me feel like maybe I'm looking at it wrong, or maybe the board is looking at it a little different, or enough of you looking at it different, because so we'll start with the, you know, the administration, and then we'll go into, you know, the different departments, you know, you know, with operations, what we really have are programs, personnel, you know, and you know, some ongoing projects that, you know, we have that, you know, we work. So take a look at it, and we'll start back on Tuesday at 5:30. And why don't we all go home and see our significant others?
I need a motion to adjourn. Whoop, excuse me. I'm ready to go, but I missed your number, okay?
No, everything's fine, sir.
Thank you.
Everything's rolling along just as smooth as silk.
Good.
All right, I want to say this, I've been thinking about this all night, in fact, all during the budget hearings. And I don't know a simple way to do this, but we got this $253 million budget before us for 2026. Now, if we want to move something from here to there, whatever, somehow, some way we need direction. And what I'm talking about is that, okay, is it bond capital? Is it operation? Is it grants? Is it levy limits? Is it fines, forfeitures? Is it fees? Is it state? Well, we do have state limits and constraints. So now if one of the honorable supervisors want to make a change, say, take this from here and put it over there, how will they know how to do it. I know they're working with, we'll be working with the finance, but this is a big lift. So in order to do this big lift, we need a process in place. I mean, somehow we need to know, email or text or whatever, before we start this process, because we don't want to spend time, hey, take this from operations, no, take this from capital. Can you do that? I mean, we need some direction how to do this. Thank you.
Thank you. I believe that is why we have addressed the open house, that the accounting, the finance area is opening their doors to sit down and speak with how to do that, and each individual supervisor can speak to Gwen about that.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, just to clarify, I think Gwen said she's open to phone or email, or is that correct? Do you have a preference to come in?
I have no preference, but if you come in and he calls at the same time, I'm only one person.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
in general, you can put capital in operations, you cannot put operations in capital.
Okay, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I know that.
You can't bond for operations.
I know, but that's.
Yeah, I mean, for the honorable supervisors who don't know, you cannot bond for operations.
Now, see, this is the other issue that I can foresee, is that you might have two different departments and supervisor may be taken from the, heck, just to say, from the sheriff's department. Both of them are asking for the same thing and maybe moved it in different places. That's,
I hear you.
There's a lot of variables.
But-
Is what you're
but-
talking about.
Wait, let me see.
Go ahead.
Who would go first? If one's taken from a department and another's taken from the department to move it over there and another one's moving it over there, how do you determine which one goes first?
My first reaction to that would be, those are separate amendments then, and those separate amendments would be addressed on the 23rd. You're right. I mean, that is my first reaction.
Because if the money's already moved, the second person can't.
That's.
Is it possible to have all these scenarios? Yes, no doubt about it.
But the only thing I'm saying, Mr. Chairman, is guidelines. What's the rules?
Can you help me understand what has been done in the past? Because I've not been in this situation where we have had.
We have a history of not having many amendments.
And I'm just curious, what's happened in the past?
You answered the question.
Okay, I'm just asking.
But we should be prepared for the unexpected.
Okay. I don't have an answer right now.
I think it's gonna be a learning experience.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, right. Okay,
Sure.
Supervisor Wishaw?
Thank you. Just a general question. In this process, when is the opportunity for the public to weigh in on this budget?
Public hearing on
Public
the,
hearings,
on the 23rd.
23rd, is that the only opportunity?
Go ahead.
Public comment in every county board meeting.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm just, again,
Yeah.
this is obviously a big decision. There's a lot of information
Mhm.
out there now and a lot more focus on this budget than there probably has been in the past. So I just want to make sure that the public has ample opportunity to attend and share their thoughts and opinions on this
Right.
budget before we're making decisions here. So just want to make sure that we're having ample time for the public. So
Did that answer your question?
did.
Thank you.
But if we can have more opportunities, that'd be great though too. So thank you.
Supervisor Spencer?
Thank you. I'm just trying to understand. So on the 21st, we meet as a committee of the whole to do more discussing. On the 23rd, it's the first reading. So it's, how can we discuss it again on the 23rd if it's the first reading? Am I wrong about that?
It goes to Finance Committee first on Thursday, the 23rd at 5 PM. You guys consider amendments proposed. And the resolution is actually titled Adopt the Budget as Amended. And then it goes that night to County Board, first of the public hearing, and then vote, first reading of the agenda of the item. And then on November 3rd is the second reading and amendments may be proposed on the floor.
What on the 4th?
On the floor, you may have proposed an amendment on the floor.
Don't go to forfeit. Okay.
Got it? Supervisor Rossi?
Thank you, Chairman. After Supervisor Wishaw's comments, I'm just curious, and I didn't really think about it. Why don't we do a separate hearing on the budget? I'm not familiar with the process.
The question was, why do we do one?
Why don't we do?
We do. It's on the 23rd. It's required by state law and it needs a 15-day notice, which was provided last week, Wednesday.
But maybe I misunderstood. It sounded like it was just essentially at the beginning of a separate meeting.
It's the county board meeting that night on the 23rd, and it begins with a public hearing about the 2026 budget.
Okay. Thank you.
Your mic's on. I'm just wondering.
Oh.
Thank you. Chairman Kramer.
Okay, yeah, Supervisor Shakur makes a good point. That's maybe why we need to have the discussion, so we can see like things, and we had some collaboration here, and these two guys can get together, so we don't have, competing. And if we do get a competing, maybe Gwen could call me and say, look, we got this money going in two directions, or we've got the money going back and forth. I hope it doesn't happen, and it might, so.
Yeah, I'll try my best to get all amendments to you, Chairman Kramer,
All right.
before the committee of the whole meeting.
Yeah.
But if somebody comes to my office at 4:30 PM, before
get
the 5:30 PM, I might not have enough time.
That's fine. I get that, so.
Supervisor Shakur.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Now, in the past, when you have multiple, well, we don't have a lot of them, but when you have the amendments, you'd always take those that got to the Finance Committee first. And we would go right down the list. I'm just saying, that's.
And that's why I think the discussions here, with the collaboration kind of thing would work better. Obviously, if you have a brainstorm on Monday morning, or Wednesday morning, I don't think, that's, or you can't make Tuesday night and you send an amendment over, we'll, as long as we all appreciate each other's opinion and don't step on each other, it'll work.
Never do. Do a good job here.
Supervisor Preisker.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Is there a process, or are there other supervisors that know they can't make the committee of the whole meeting next Tuesday? So I cannot. We have a regularly scheduled City of Burlington meeting, and I'm running the meeting on behalf of the mayor, so I have to be there in person to run it. So what's is the intent to discuss the amendments that are submitted by that day at that night, or is it just going to be a continuation of the discussion like today, just about the operating budget?
That is the intention of the chairman.
Okay.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Motion to it. You beat me to it.
Okay, we are adjourned.